morning, Jenny. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So listeners don't get confused. What is the correct pronunciation of the name of the podcast?
It is pronounced Womanica.
Womanica. I like that. Now, where'd that come from?
You know, we were trying to think about names that were sort of an homage to the books and research sort of tomes that we all had to sift through growing up and going through history classes, because so many of those things we felt like missed out on the amazing and dynamic women from around the world and throughout history that we wanted to feature. So it's sort of a nod to those kinds of books.
And the history that you share, my God, your nose must be in encyclopedias, or you're all over Google. I mean, the name Corazon Aquino, that was once a major part of every one of our vocabularies.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to say I give full credit on the research front to my sister, who's my co-creator of the show, Liz Kaplan. She's the research genius behind the show and behind coming up with the different women, and we work together on themes, and now we have a whole team behind us. But she is really the research brain here.
What was it? Was it a cup of tea, coffee, where you're sitting down, somewhere and going, hey, I have this idea. I would like to do a podcast that's finally going to put attention on the history of women?
I wish I could tell you that I remember a discrete moment, but I think it was just, I had started Wonder Media Network, the company that I'm the co-founder of. And we were putting podcasts out there, and our mission is to amplify underrepresented voices and the stories of women and others. And it was through conversations with my sister. I can't really remember the exact moment, but we felt so strongly that there were so many women who were just missing from our classes growing up. And we are both big history fans. And it felt like, wow, there's so many people who we want to highlight who just have done amazing things. Good things, bad things, innovative things that we wanted to talk about.
Well, one of the things that it does, and this is the crazy way that I think that this finally puts a face inside the imaginations of high school students, maybe even middle school students, where they're going, oh my God, a woman did this. Like Elizabeth Packard. I mean, her husband institutionalized her, but she fought her way back. How many people feel trapped and feel like, I'm going to give up. This is where I'm going to stop.
Totally. And that's part of what we wanted to do here. We certainly have episodes that are the stories of women who we have heard of, but I think that we wanted to show the breadth of things that people can do and show the greatest possible sort of variety of futures or of past, so that people can imagine different kinds of futures, so that girls in schools can say, you know what? My path isn't limited to the things I see in front of me. It's not limited to the jobs I see that my parents have or their friends have or whatever. Actually, there are so many different things I can do. And even for older folks thinking about what they want to do next, the different chapters they want to have in their lives, we want to feature all different kinds of stories so that people can be inspired, not only to learn about the past in a more thorough and empathetic way, but also so that people can imagine different kinds of futures.
One podcaster to another podcaster here. A lot of people think that you and I are insane by doing stuff daily. They think that, well, you only need one episode or two episodes a week. No, it's a presentation. You want to be present. Is that your goal?
We want to be present, and also we really, at WMN, we make lots of weekly shows, but with this show, the concept was, how can we create something that really fits into people's day-to-day? And so we decided we're going to make a 5-ish minute daily show. That way we can feature more women, and also we're building something that's habit forming so that there is a constant presence in our listeners' lives with the stories that we want to spread.
I love that you concentrate on 5 minutes. And the reason why, and this is the radio guy coming out in me, is that I think podcasts should be like songs on the radio. We only have 20 minutes to get to a certain location. That's the way towns are designed nowadays. So to put a couple of episodes inside my smartphone and listen to it while I'm driving there is the perfect opportunity to learn a lot about what you're doing.
Totally. I mean, it is amazing how much can fit into 5 minutes. It's actually, like, when you get down to it, it can be a lot of time. I mean, we've talked a lot about, are there other ways of, creating spin-off shows that are, less frequent and longer, where we dive deeper into women's stories. But it's amazing how much you can fit in a pretty short amount of time.
How are people reacting in the way that it seems like anytime that anybody wants to bring up a chunk of history, they go, no, 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 not here, not here. I mean, you're bringing history forward in ways that, because history class was always so selective. We could only, like when I was in Montana, of course, we had to learn about Lewis and Clark. They went through Montana. But did we really?
When we first started the show and through the years, through year 1, through to year 2, even through year 3, we got the question a lot, aren't you going to run out of women? Which I think is a pretty hysterical concept and is one of the reasons why this show is so important. There are so many different people to feature. And I think that because we have daily episodes, it actually allows us to not worry so much about, who we're featuring every day, because there are so many opportunities to feature different kinds of voices. And we've really focused on every month, there's a different theme. So the month of March, the theme was movers and shakers, which was quite fun. The month of April is going to be mischief makers, which is I'm so excited for that month. And we try to take a really broad look at what can that theme mean? What kinds of different people can fit into that, that make it a really fun month, that make it not particularly repetitive, so that we're giving people a lot of different stories, because at the end of the day, podcasts are entertainment.
Yes.
So we want people to get this history. We want people to be learning, but I'm under no illusion that this isn't an entertainment kind of thing. Like, people want to enjoy what they're listening to, and they have to pick our show over lots of other things they could be listening to.
Yeah, I dare a podcast listener to drive in the car without one being played in the background. They can't, because it becomes a part of their lives, and especially one like what you've got here. And what my favorite part that you put focus on was Rebels, and I'm just getting into Tastemakers and learning about Abby Fisher. It's a part of my lifestyle, and if it's not there, and I'm waiting for a new episode, it's like, but you feed us every day.
It's been really fun, even on our team, to understand which themes people like most, because, while many, I think, of our producers thought that they would like some of the inspirational themes, like, dreamers or pioneers or all different. We've done so many different STEMinists. There's so many amazing women we've featured that are really inspiring. Actually, a lot of our team loves villainesses. And, we did a whole month on spies, which was just fascinating. And some of the mischief makers, women who are really complicated, because so often women in history are portrayed as either wholly good or wholly bad. And we really try to break that in our show and show how complicated and interesting these stories are beyond just sort of a flippant good or bad qualification.
I just recently learned about Charlotte Bass. I had no clue. And I feel so bad that I totally missed out on the first African-American woman to run for the president of the United States. What was it like to do the research for something like this? Because there's a lot of people that are like me. I didn't know.
I find myself with so many episodes, including that one, just having the same reaction as you, thinking like, how did I miss this person? This is such an important first, and it's just shocking to me that it's not something I learned about before. She's not a person who's in our, day-to-day sort of vernacular when we're referring to people in the past. And that happens to me with basically every episode where I see a name, maybe occasionally it rings a bell, but I'm not really sure what it is. And then I dive deeper into the scripts, into the research, and just think like, wow, this is incredible. I can't wait to share what I'm learning with other people. And again, it's thanks to our incredible team of people really diving into the research that I'm able to do so many episodes and get the information out there in a way that is easy for the listener to get.
You talked about building the team and the journey to create that team. So often those teams that bring these podcasts forward do not get recognition, because it's like, it's what I do. But no, it's more than that, because you have words on a page become the story, become what needs to be edited, becomes what needs to be promoted. How was it that you formulated, the substance of this team?
This show really grew alongside our company, Wonder Media Network, and it has evolved significantly. It started off where it was really just my sister, myself, my co-founder, Shira, and our director of audio, and we have, and as we brought producers on, this became a show that everyone at the company really touches because there are so many episodes, and we wanted to make sure that this didn't get boring, that we didn't fall into a trap of it feeling like a slog that episodes come out every day. So as our team has expanded at Wonder Media Network, everyone is involved in this show in research and scripting, and we have lots of editors now. We have lots of, producers. The production team really is on a rotation so that we make sure that every episode is given the attention that it's due because these women are so fascinating. So we've worked a lot on trying to figure out how do we have a lot of hands on this without making it feel like, it's created by committee and making it not a good output because there's so many people. How can we use the incredible team we've put together at this company to make sure that the show stays fresh, the show stays interesting, the show stays exciting, and story forward? Because again, this is a podcast. People are choosing to listen to it. This isn't like a homework assignment. So how do we make sure that the episodes are something that people really want to listen to every day?
Yeah, and it's not all about 2023. The people that are going to be listening to this podcast are going to be around in 2029 and 2045. So when you say story forward, that's inspiring to me because you get it. You understand that the future listener may not be here, but they're coming.
Totally. It's also one of the things that I found really exciting is that people aren't just listening to the new episode that dropped today.
Right.
They're really going to the backlog and thinking like, what am I interested in listening today? What do I want to learn about? When people discover the show, they discover that we've been doing this now for years. And so there are so many different episodes to check out, people to learn about. It's really amazing to see what's happening in our backlog. And it makes me excited to keep telling new stories because I totally agree with you. We have listeners now who love what we're doing, and we're going to have listeners in the future who find this as a resource and get excited about it then.
How do you cross-pollinate your programming? Because with you building this foundation that opens up the eyes of multiple layers of podcasting, I would utilize that situation by promote.
We do promote across our shows a lot. So our mission at Wonder Media Network is to amplify underrepresented voices. And so a lot of our shows are have a similar audience, not necessarily the same audience, but there are certainly shows where people listen to one and they might be interested in another. So we do a lot of cross-pollination, a lot of at least sharing about our shows on our other shows to make sure that people know what's going on. Because again, we want to make sure that people understand that these options are out there so that when they're deciding what they want to listen to next, they know about our other shows and know that we're producing more content that we think that will serve them.
I love the way that you break it all up because, so often when it comes to podcasting, and I love all podcasters because it's a great way to communicate, but they will stuff everything into the same bag. It's like, okay, I do rock star interviews, I do book authors, and it's all on one podcast. Don't you think it needs to be broken up like that to create your own personal network like you've done?
I think that it's really important to have a clear purpose for each show because you have to sell it to the listener. And as a consumer, when I am going to decide what I'm going to listen to next, I am picking shows because I really know what they're doing and what I'm getting from them. So I think that there are certain cases where they're incredible interviewers and they can have all sorts of different guests on. But even when you have all sorts of different guests, or even when you're featuring all different stories like we do on Womanica, having a really strong unifying theme, I think, is essential because otherwise, as a listener, I'm going to tune out. I'm going to zone out because I'm like, why are we talking about this right now? I don't understand what the connection is here.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that you have to listen to your shows while driving in the car or sitting in an office because how would you know what the listener is going through if you don't listen to it?
Right. Yeah. I am constantly listening to audio all the time. You'd think that given that it's my job, I would not want to do it, on my own commute or when I'm home. But I always have headphones in and I'm trying to figure out what the best stuff out there is so that we can learn from different shows and try out different formats and think differently about audio and how it's going to grow in the future.
I love the mantra, women who broke the rules that were meant to be broken. Because when you've got someone like Gertrude Benham, this is an inspiration for women who believe in getting out and exploring, because she was a traveler, a mountaineering person. I mean, she just loved to be out there in the wild.
It is amazing to me. There are a number of women we've highlighted who are just adventurers. And it's so fun to learn about these women who, you know, in today's day and age, it's like, a lot of people feel nervous to travel alone, to do different things. And we've highlighted women who did that 100 years ago and trekked up mountains and explored, you know, totally unknown areas to them and figured out different cultures. And it's just really, really inspiring and engaging to hear about women who blaze trails in different ways, whether it is, you know, literal adventuring, exploring, or, you know, women who invented things that we still use today. It's amazing to understand that that's possible.
This is the type of podcast that creates conversations. You could be at dinner, you could be just with a small group of people. Somehow, some way in that conversation, somebody's going to bring up something that's very relatable to your podcast, and you're going to say, you're not going to believe what I just learned. I don't know how you picked out this person that you're talking about, but I just learned about this person.
Totally. I find myself, I've been at a lot of dinner parties, cocktail parties where I find myself talking about the women we covered that week, or talking about, you know, we did a month where we've done many months where we've covered different women who were all doing different things, you know, around the same world events, like World War II, for example. And I find myself thinking about this just real life Marvel universe of women, sort of, you know, real superheroes who were spies, who were journalists, who were entertainers, who turned into spies or soldiers or whatever it was, all during the same period that was changing the face of the world, like in World War II, who were engaged in different activities at the same time, in different places all over the world, doing things that led to the outcome we know today of that war. So it's really fascinating to not only be able to have discrete, interesting stories of women, but also to have them put together where you can see sort of a slice across time and location of what was going on at any given period with different women all over the world.
And isn't it weird how, yeah, sure, it says the date when they did what they did, but in reality, it feels like it just happened yesterday, or it could have happened?
It really does, especially, I mean, we've featured some ancient women and it's, you know, obviously it's harder to know the specifics of women from that far back because records are not as good, and often, particularly for women, they were not preserved very well. But the same problems, like lots of different, you know, sometimes we find details that are sort of gossipy, which I always find fun. And it is amazing to hear how, you know, it's clear to see progress, but also the issues that people were dealing with still seem quite relevant today when it comes to fighting for better circumstances for themselves and for the people around them and their communities.
Wow, Jenny, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to chat with you.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
You too.